Today I'm going to show you the top 5 most undervalued illustration rare cards from Scarlet, Violet, and Mega Evolution sets. And this is not just my opinion. For the past few months, I've been working to productionize an intricate, extremely in-depth model that combines as much market data as I can get my hands on to try and estimate the actual card price, or what we would predict the card price to be. And that model allows us to find the gaps between the market price and the expected price to find which ones are undervalued or overvalued. If you've been following the channel, then you know kind of how this works already, but if you're new, I suggest watching either of these videos where I break down exactly what's happening, probably in a borderline annoying or definitely annoying amount of detail. But as a quick refresher, these are the main things that we're taking into account. So we are using number 1, scarcity score. This is a high influence on the model. And basically what it is, it uses the pull rates for every card from every set multiplied by the cost of the pack. So you get this pull cost. So that's the level of rarity and evaluation on the rarity that we can use and get a really strong signal about how this impacts the market price. Character premium. This also has a very high influence on the model. And all this is ranking the character within the TCG, which characters tend to command the higher price premiums. Next, collector appeal. This one, oh my God. You want to talk about a story. I have an entire video on this one alone, and it's using a combination of grading, how frequently cards are graded, along with weighting it by, at any given point in time, the popularity of the hobby. So as the hobby gains popularity, generally more cards are submitted, so you need to weight the frequency of which cards are submitted during that point in time. Next is demand pressure. Now this is like your current market state. This is how much of the supply in the market is being absorbed at any given time. That percentage gives you a very good estimate of the market flow in and out, new listings, sold listings, and that higher percentage means higher prices. Now, one thing to keep in mind, because we are looking at illustration rares, right now there are only 11 illustration rares that have a price tag above $100 right now. Conversely, for special illustration rares, it's about 21% of those cards have a price tag above $100. So what you're about to see when we look at these undervalued cards, nothing's going to be like, oh my God, $300 undervalued, you know, like that. We're looking at cheaper cards, but still these are all very telling and can then help show you where the market could go and where the ceiling could be on some of these cards. Let's now move in to number 5 on the list. Number 5 is Snivy, number 87 from Black Bull. So currently this is about $12 off of the market price, a 40% gap to market, expected around $41 versus the $28 market price today. So we're going to look at our different market signals. The first is scarcity score. Scarcity score right now is 4.3 out of 10. So it's a relatively easy card to pull when you consider it on the scale. Like an Umbreon is basically a 10 out of 10, given the sheer number of packs and the cost of those packs. So 4.3 is relatively inexpensive to pull this card. Now the character premium is about average for this. And then the collector appeal is really strong for this card. So, and the time that this set was released, it has an above average appeal due to the higher grading frequency and mixed with Google Trends popularity. And then lastly, the demand pressure. So for an illustration rare, anything above 5% is pretty strong. And this also has a lot to do with the available listings. And this is a theme that you're going to see in this list. So because supply is more restricted in some of these cases, that means that it only takes a small amount of market movement to pretty much take these cards from somewhat available to almost not available at all. And when there's nothing available at all, you've got very little headroom and prices are going to go up quickly. So for instance, Snivy has 68 listings that are available right now on eBay. And for context, the Mega Charizard XEX has 600, almost 600 available listings. And that's just wild that card, people are trying to get rid of that card right now, and somehow that price is still maintaining, but that's a whole nother story. All right, number 4, Tepig, number 96 from White Flare. This one has a 38% gap to market. So expected around $46 versus the $33 market price today. Black Bolt and White Flare have been the biggest growers, sets that have grown the most in the past 30 days or so. And a lot of it is driven by these illustration rares. So scarcity score for this set, in an illustration rare in this set, is 4 out of 10. Not about the same as Black Bolt, since they have around the same amount of illustration rares and they cost about the same amount per pack. Now this one has an average-ish character premium, but the collector appeal is really high for this card. This is again what's driving a lot of this value estimate. You know, it could be just the artwork is just really cute. People like this. The the lore behind the Pokemon, whatever it is, that is driving people to get this one graded more frequently. Now, demand again is increasing even higher for this card. So now this one is at 6%. And if you look at it, it kind of makes more sense too. There are just 48 listings showing on eBay. So an insanely low availability for these illustration rares compared to a lot of other cards from other sets. Number 3, Dwebble, 129 from Black Bolt. You're recognizing the pattern here. Again, Black Bolt, 21% gap to market, expected around $74 versus the $61 market price today. So scarcity score is the same as the other Black Bolt IRs at 4.3. The character premium is actually above average in this case, and very high collector appeal, which makes sense to me. I mean, just looking at this artwork, it has that cute reflection in the bottle. It makes sense that this would be a higher demand card simply because of the merits of the artwork alone. So, and of course, as we go up our list, we keep finding cards that are in more and more short supply. Demand for this card is very elevated. This is a nearly unheard of for an illustration rare, but this demand pressure right now is at 10%. So we're really, really in that constrained market state for this card. And again, as we see again, even fewer listings are available, just 34 active on eBay. So again, as availability shrinks, as people buy more and aren't selling, that means higher prices. Number 2, Zorua, number 142 from White Flare. 41% gap to market, expected price around $68 versus the $48 current market price. And yes, the pattern exists again. Another White Flare card, scarcity score 4, slightly higher average character premium, and even higher collector appeal. So probably considering Zorua evolves into Zoroark, which is also another popular Pokemon. And here again, we see a demand pressure even higher for this card. So I would expect the Black Bolt and White Flare cards to continue climbing in value over the next year or so. But as we saw at the beginning, illustration rares are very rarely priced above $100. So there's likely a soft ceiling on how much these can grow, but it would be safe to say that there's probably headroom of another 20 to 30%, even above the expected price, especially with how much just Black Bolt and White Flare have grown over the past couple of months and how very little supply there seems to be, or people are not selling these cards as much. Or maybe what it is too is that there haven't been enough people to recognize the value that these cards are demanding right now, so that could catch up. As we see prices go up, you are going to have more people trying to take advantage of that, and they want to sell their duplicates. Now, the most undervalued illustration rare, Pikachu, number 173 from Scarlet and Violet 151 set. This has the highest dollar gap to market at $28, while we're expected around $120. So this is a 31% gap. Now, why is this one undervalued? Let me give you the objective measures first, and then we'll kind of go into my opinion on the subjective piece. First, scarcity score is 4.7. This is not that much higher than we saw with the Black Bolt and White Flare. However, the character premium is obviously through the roof. This is a Pikachu. The collector appeal, through the roof. Considering how often this card is graded, there are 31,000 cards as of early June from PSA. And of course, the Google Trends data for Pikachu is through the roof. So the collector appeal cannot be understated on a Pikachu, especially a Pikachu from 151. Now, the demand pressure, we're only sitting at 6%, and this is still very strong for an illustration rare. And the reason it looks comparatively soft is because of the number of listings that are available. We're looking at almost 400 listings for this Pikachu on eBay, which is like 10x of what we were just seeing from some of the other Black Bolt and White Flare cards. Now, because this set has been around for so long and because the IRs are relatively easy to pull, there's just more of this card that simply exists in the world. So that's part of it. But the fact that at 6%, you know, you're still looking at demand, consistent demand, and a flow of sales happening every day. So 6% of 400 is like over 20 cards per day that are still being sold. So still a lot of demand there, still a lot of movement in the market. So in terms of the model, Pikachu also commands a high price. Pikachu, just look at the craziness that happened with the Trikachu from Ascended Heroes. Why doesn't Pikachu have that kind of power in Scarlet and Violet 151? It could, but here's kind of my theory, and this is the subjective part that I wanted to get to. My opinion is that there is more collector synergy to have with the Charmander, with the Squirtle, with the Bulbasaur. You know, before you want to have those first in your collection before you move to Pikachu. If you think about it, this is how it happened in the games. Pokemon Red and Blue, you started, your options were Bulbasaur, Squirtle, or Charmander. And it wasn't until Nintendo released the yellow version where Pikachu became like the face of Pokemon after that. And I think another thing potentially holding this Pikachu back is that it's a standalone card in the set as a full art. Now, I mean, of course, Pikachu evolves into Raichu, but Raichu did not get a full art card. So it doesn't have that collector synergy that Charmander and Squirtle and Bulbasaur have because their entire evolution line got a full art print. Even considering that, I mean, I think in the TCG, Pikachu is a must-have, and especially a Pikachu from 151. Now, some honorable mentions. I just mentioned Charmander. This was one of the ones that just had literally doubled in price when we were looking at it earlier this year, and it's settled around that $100 price range. The model is still saying that this Charmander could still be about $10 off the market price, so not a whole lot. It's about a 9% gap, but we're expecting this to be around $120, at least right now, considering the market state. So again, 151 illustration rares, I think, have room to grow in price. The only thing holding back this price growth is just generally more availability of this card. So as we just saw, you know, Black Bolt cards under 100 listings. Illustration rares for 151, 400 plus. So, but as demand is also going down in this summer slump, you know, should buyouts start to happen, this is something to really keep in mind. It would take a decent amount of money to start gobbling up this much inventory, but because all of the other signals are strong scarcity score, super strong character premium, super strong collector appeal, they're really the only thing that's holding this back is how much availability. So if buyouts start happening, I think that makes this card even more susceptible to prices shooting up. You're talking about a pop, a price surge that could happen, just like we saw earlier this year. I think could still happen with the Charmander and other 151 illustration rares. Okay, one other one I wanted to mention, and this is the opposite. Overvalued cards, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I did want to talk about the Magikarp. Oh, the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. Now, right now, the model does not consider artist clout. It's something I've tested briefly adding to the model, but have not fully vetted, and we want to include it because I think it can explain some, if not the majority, hopefully, of this gap. Right now, Shinji Kanda cards carry an insane price premium, and this card is the prime example of that. The model is saying without that included, without the artist clout being a factor, the baseline price for Magikarp is about $125. Right now, the market price is about $400. So is it overvalued? I mean, maybe, but some cards just become like a lightning rod of attention, of clout, of bragging rights and hype. And those are the more intangible forces that are hard to measure. But I do think that the Shinji Kana, the artist clout, is something that we really want to test further here, because I think it can help make up some of the gap, but I'm doubtful that it's going to make up all the gap. So yes, that FOMO and hype, that is part of the story. So again, the model is not saying that this price is going to fall. Like, it's not a prediction in that way. We're not saying that it's a $400 card, well, it's going to fall to 125. Of course not. That's not going to happen. But it helps just put the price we see into perspective. So when you pay a 325% premium to buy the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved, you're paying for those things. You're paying for that win of having it in your collection and knowing that you're one of the rare few. Like, that's what you're paying for. It's a community of people saying that this Magikarp is sick and it's worth it to me. So the last thing I was going to show you is that if you want to know where all this information came from, well, part of my entire journey here as I've been building this model, I've actually been building my own card analytics platform that's live and exists today. If you've been following the channel, you definitely know about it because I talk about it a lot. But my goal isn't to have an infomercial. My goal is to show you, like, look how freaking cool this is. We've developed a card analytics platform. We've figured all this out. When I say we, it's like me and you guys, and you've been on this journey. And my goal here is to inform, give you real, tangible, useful information that is going to make your collecting journey better and easier and more informed. And so that's why I built this tool, Collectrics. So I appreciate all the support that you guys have put into it and all the positive feedback and the feedback that I get, not just in YouTube comments. You guys reach out to me in email, you have suggestions. I love it. I try to respond to everyone. And so far I've had like really, really helpful, very smart people that are looking to help out and offer brilliant suggestions all the time. So I owe you a debt of gratitude as well. You can go to mycollectrics.com. What we just showed today is from the Collectrics IQ Price Lab, is what we call it, where we're doing this modeling, and you can see exactly all the cards and the information I just showed you in this video. It's there. So just have fun with that. Feel free to, shoot me any other suggestions about, your experience with the site, any problems you have. I love hearing all of it. And that's it for me. Thanks again for watching. Until next time. I don't have a sign off, so just until next time. Bye. Thanks.